Hey everyone, in this video, we will look into how to create your first Hello World program using Node and ExpressJS. This process is going to be very simple. With just few lines of code, you will be able to write your first Hello World program using Node. And if you are a beginner who is about to get started with learning Node or backend stuff, then this video is just for you. And for more such awesome Flutter, React, and backend tutorials, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel wherein we post regular video tutorials about front-end and backend related stuffs. So what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button now so that you won't miss any of the craziest updates which you are going to share in the future videos. Now let's get started with the tutorial. And for this tutorial, I'll be making use of VS Code as my IDE. You can use any IDE of your choice, but I prefer sticking with VS Code for this tutorial. Following which, let's head over to this link and install Node in our local device. This is pretty much straightforward approach, and the latest version of the Node as of the video recording date is 21.2. Once you have installed Node in your device, let's head back to the VS Code and try to open the terminal. Here in your terminal, just type node space -v, and this is going to provide you with a version of the node which is being installed in your device. I have the node version 18.17.1 being installed in my device. If node is not recognized, then the installation of the node wasn't successful. You can retry it again by installing node. After installing node, now let's get started with the coding part. Here let's start by creating a folder called server. Here inside this server folder, let's type in npm init. You can just hit enter for these selections. Once it is done, you can see a new file called package.json being created. Next, let's try to run the command npm install express. Once it is done, we have our packages and dependencies up and ready. All you need to do is just try to create a new file called app.js. And here inside this file is where we will be writing our coding part. First, let's make use of the express package. Following which, we create the app constant which is equal to express. Then we make use of the listen method. Inside the listen method, you will try to pass the port which is 4000, and the second attribute is going to be a callback function. And inside this function, we are just going to make use of the console log statement and try to specify that the server is running at the port 4000. So with this, we have a basic app.js up and ready. And in order to run this node project, all you need to do is, you just need to type node followed by the file name. Here it is app.js. You can ignore the extension. Now as you can see that our server is up and ready and is now listening to the port 4000. So with this, we can infer that we have successfully created our server with the help of Node and ExpressJS. Now our server is up and ready, but it is not able to process any request or respond us back with any values. So now let's try to send some values right from our server to the client which is going to connect with our server. And in order to do so, let's make use of the get method. And it is going to accept two parameters. The first parameter is going to be the path, following which the second parameter is going to be a function, which again has the parameters as request and response. Request is nothing but the value which we get from the client, and response is which we are going to pass back to the client as the result of the request. Inside this function, let's try to make use of response.sendoff followed by the hello world value. So with this, we are able to send hello world back to any client which is going to contact our server. Now let's try to test this. Basically, whenever you want to test your backend code, we prefer go for using Postman. So let's try to pull up the Postman here. And this is nothing but a UI interface where you'll be able to test all your API calls and check the responses. Since we have made changes in our app.js, we need to stop our server and rerun it again. Here let's try to create a new GET request. And the URL is going to be localhost 4000. Here let's hit send. And as you can notice here, the server has responded us back with hello world. Basically, you can actually send any value here. It is not just limited to a text value, you can even send a HTML data as a response. And to do so, you can just update this get method. Here, we'll be specifying the response type as HTML or text. And with the status code 200, we'll be setting the value of the response as the hello world, which is embedded inside h1 tag. Now if we open our browser and try to run localhost 4000, we should be able to get this hello world with the h1 tag. Since we have made changes in our app.js, we need to restart our project. So this actually gets quite annoying whenever you try to update your app.js and restart it again every time. And for that, we have a solution. To overcome that problem, we can install NodeMon. Basically, this NodeMon is capable enough to restart our Node app every time whenever any changes is happening. You can install this NodeMon globally with the help of the command npm install -g NodeMon. Since I have already installed this NodeMon in my device, I don't need to type node followed by the file name. Instead, I need to type NodeMon followed by the file name. And if I open my browser, you can see that at localhost 4000, the browser is able to decode the h1 tag and print us hello world. And it's not just limited to a single forward slash. You can create your own custom path by specifying any name here. Say for example, if I specify user and here let's update this response with hello user. Now let me pull up my Postman and here instead of localhost 4000, let's type in /user and try to hit send. And this time you see a different response from our server. It has responded us back with hello user, and that is what we have actually sent from the server. Basically, whenever you run localhost 4000 alone, we get hello world. But if you are able to pass this path /user, you get hello user. And this is basically all about the get method. Let's try to extend the same for the post method as well. Here the post method is going to be quite different from the get method. Where in get method, we just try to send some values from the server. We are not accepting any values from the client. But in post method, we have the option to get the data from the client and process it back and send the response. Basically, this post request has the ability to get any data from the client. And for that, let's first try to make use of express.json method. Following which, let's make use of .post, and here inside which we are going to pass the same kind of attributes. The first is going to be the path and second is going to be a function callback. And it is once again going to be request and response. And inside this, let's try to deserialize the name value which is passed from the request which is being sent. We once again make use of the .send method to send the value. And this time, since we are able to get the name value from the request, we try to pass the same in the response. And if you save this and head over to the Postman, and let's try to create a new request, and this time it is not get but it is post. And let's type in localhost 4000. Let's hit send. We have welcome and undefined. The reason we are getting undefined is that we are not sending any data in our request body. I can just select this body tab and choose raw and select JSON. Inside this body, we are going to pass an attribute called name with a value as alias. And this time, if we hit send, we will notice that the server has responded us back with the same name. If you try to change it to Bob, you can see that the server is able to respond us back with the name which we pass in the request. So this is basically all about how to create your first Node and ExpressJS program and try to make use of the get and post methods. Hope you find this video useful. If you do so, consider subscribing and I will see you again in the next one.